Good morning, Your Majesty. I trust you're ready for the day?
Yeah.
Excellent. I have a few things to run by you today before we make our way to the portals. My peers have been made aware of your arrival and are expecting you today.
You mean the wizards? Do all of them live outside the castle like you?
Yes, we try to keep ourselves removed from the daily struggles and machinations of the Rose Court. We work in conjunction with the throne, not under it. Maintaining a healthy distance is one of the many ways we try to reinforce that fact.
Yeah.
There used to always be a court wizard who served as a liaison between the two. However, the last one died in the same attack that took the Rose Monarchs. The position has been empty ever since.
So this isn't your job?
At this point, it is, but only by the barest of technicalities. The previous court wizard was my mentor. I'm fulfilling his duties out of respect for him, and out of my loyalty to Lord Ozpin. But back to business. We furnished your room with a larger desk to accommodate some of the maps you and I will be going over later.
Yeah.
And finally, there still remains the issue of some of the lesson plans I'll have to draw up for you. Don't think that just because you were in the desert, that means I'll forgive you for not practicing your runes, young lady.
Yeah?
You were supposed to be hiding your identity, not letting the strength of your young mind slip away into the sands.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, what? Are you just agreeing with everything I say? Are you even listening to me, Rose?
Yeah?
Ugh, unbelievable.
Jeez, what do you want? For me to disagree? I'm trying to play along here.
Your speech is vulgar and low class, no doubt picked up from that Zhao Long girl. You cannot afford to be so casual with every person you meet, Rose.
Is it just, really difficult for you to speak to people without slipping in an insult or two? And shouldn't you be using a more royal title for me?
At first, I might have. But in the brief time I've come to know you, Rose, I'm wondering if taking a rougher approach is the better way to command your attention. I won't scrape and bow to every whim you have just because of your bloodline. I've seen many roses wilt before their time. You'll need to work harder than that to convince me you were worth the years I spent searching for you.
Okay, fine. I don't want to argue over this. I didn't mean to upset you, Lady Good Witch. I just had a really rough night, and I'm on edge.
Rough in what manner? You do look tired. Did anything interrupt your sleep, Rose? Nightmares, by any chance?
No, I'm fine. Just tired.
I'm about to be very frank with you, Your Majesty.
Are you anything else?
I hold no love for the Summer Rose Court. Not the families too busy plotting against each other to notice this plane is falling apart, nor your sordid politics. Whatever sick magic is in your blood that allows you to sit on the throne with no ill effect holds no interest for me. But Crow believes in the power of the Rose lineage, and Ozpin believed in Crow. He continues to suffer daily and risk his life for Crow ideals. So, for their sake, I'll be patient with you and trust you not to lie to me again when I ask you this. What disturbed your sleep last night, Ruby Rose? Keeping secrets, I see. You're worse than the old fool himself.
It's just nightmares. I don't want to talk about it.
It would be in your best interest to answer her question, Ruby Rose.
Lord Ozpin, good morning.
Ozpin, you are supposed to be resting. Are you determined to die from overexertion? I won't warn you if you manage to pass away through sheer stupidity.
Hearing your gentle voice whisper such words of encouragement gives me the strength to face the day, my lady. Don't worry about me, Glenda. I'm not broken just yet. More importantly, if Miss Rose here is already getting the dreams, we'll have to reschedule a few matters.
Already? The nightmares aren't new. I've been getting them ever since I was a little girl. If they're important, didn't Uncle Crow ever tell you? He was the one who took care of me on the nights when they were really bad.
He failed to mention this, yes.
Your lover failed to mention a lot of things. Such as where and why he decided to hide the only person capable of sitting on that throne without dying for 7 years.
We've been over this before, Glenda. Whoever let those Grimm into the castle that night had to have been someone inside the Summer Rose Court itself. No one else would have been able to lead the Horde to the throne room. Everyone was suspect. No one could be trusted. Not even me.
He trusted you enough to leave you on that cursed chair, though, didn't he? To leave us on our own to rally the troops and rout the enemy without a word of warning?
Glenda, enough.
Rose,
Yes?
the nightmares.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep them from you. I just didn't want to
To burden us?
sound crazy.
Try us.
The nightmares are usually about Grimm attacks. They're always different. I can't predict what will happen. I'm always scared I'll never wake up. I've been having them for as long as I can remember. They spiked the night my parents died. Before that, I was lucky to get 2 or 3 a year. Living in the desert, it became more like 2 or 3 a month. And ever since I left,
Every night?
it's been hard to sleep.
So at least on a subconscious level, you've already been attempting to attune with Crescent Rose.
So wait, do my nightmares have something to do with, the protection magic? The one Ozpin used to keep the plane safe? Is that why you guys want to know about them?
They aren't nightmares, Ruby. They're visions. Crescent Rose is a powerful tool, locked within the throne itself, and tied to whoever dares rest upon it. With time, I can help train you to master it.
What is it, exactly? Can I see the future?
Nothing so useful.
The things, the visions. They're always so vivid, but I never thought they were real. I just thought I was broken or sick.
They are real. Everything you saw was actually happening at that very moment. That's just one of the many powers of Crescent Rose. It's a connection to the entirety of the plane, your kingdom, your territory. As a technical usurper to the throne, my abilities were limited to little more than being a warning signal. I can feel more or less when and where grim attacks are happening. Sometimes I can prevent a tragedy, and I can keep them out of the city. But you, Ruby, a full-blooded rose, the kind of power you're already wielding far outstrips anything even your parents accomplished. You should have only become attuned to the throne once the coronation was complete. If you were already tapping into Crescent Rose to scope the perimeters of your kingdom. We need to begin training at once. If you don't get a handle on these powers soon, I'm not sure what might happen.
My parents and Crow, they knew about this too?
Yes. Crow would often tell me of how intense it could be to wield Crescent Rose. The monarchs would often become trapped on the throne for weeks at a time, as they used Crescent Rose to protect our plane. To become one with the ley lines mapped across the land, it can take a terrible toll on the body, more so if you aren't a rose. I was hoping we'd have more time before you started seeing these things, that I could ease you into it. It's such a terrible burden, Ruby, and I didn't want to overwhelm you.
So this is what it means to be a rose. As far as inheritances go, I really could have used something less traumatic.
A rose, yes, and a ruler. It's a complex issue, Ruby, and a delicate one. But please try not to be angry with your parents or Crow. I know if you were my daughter, I would have withheld the truth from you for as long as I could.
Personally, I would have begun preparing her for it the moment she got her first nightmare. How is keeping her in the dark better than arming her with the truth?
Most people aren't prepared to tell a small child that their nightmares are real. Are you all right, Ruby? I know this is a lot to take in.
I'll deal with it. Other than seeing things as they're happening somewhere else, what kind of powers does Crescent Rose afford me?
At their peak, your parents were able to quell a horde simply by sitting on the throne and willing it, though again, it was hazardous to their health. That's why Crow and I find it hard to believe that a mere pack of Grimm slaughtered them that night.
Yang and I have walked the halls at the castle a few times. I don't even know how they managed to get this far in.
Nor I. As for Crescent Rose's potential, the way it manifests in each new monarch is unique to the individual. You may develop a power that we can't even begin to predict.
And I can control when I see things? Can I make the nightmares stop?
In time, yes, with a lot of meditation and a lot of physical training as well.
Magic is a tricky thing. You will always be connected to Crescent Rose by virtue of your bloodline. The coronation simply solidified it. So, the nightmares may never truly stop, but at the very least we can probably get you back to only 1 or 2 a year.
I can live with that. When do we start?
Tonight and every night after. Though for the rest of the day, we have other duties to attend to. We still need to contact the other planes.
So you mean, even if I learn how to use Crescent Rose, we still need other people's help? Can't I wiggle my fingers and make this land fight for me or something?
It's not quite so simple. Crescent Rose's more destructive powers are our last measure against the darkness. Trust me, Ruby, you don't want to know what it feels like to have all that power flowing through you. So, shall we be off? Though I would understand if you want to spend the rest of the day alone or learning of Crescent Rose. What do you want to do, Ruby?
I want to go open a portal. That's what we were going to do anyway, right? We're having magic throne lessons every night regardless of anything else I do. So we might as well stick to the schedule and get us a council member while we're at it.
Meditation sessions.
Right. Magic Rose Crown power lessons.
It won't be as simple as just opening a door and asking to speak to your neighbor, you know.
For anyone else, maybe. But you just told me I'm some sort of unprecedented powerful rose monarch. I was using its power to see across space before I even knew Crescent Rose existed. Opening a portal or two is gonna be a piece of cake.
You have potential. It means nothing unless you hone it with practice.
So that's what I'll do. I wouldn't have left the desert if I wasn't ready to go into this full strength.
Now you sound like Crow. We'll try to return you in one piece.
You know, we have a fine selection of mounts back at the stables.
I'm a rose, but I'm also a Xiaolong. I think it'd be good if people remembered that.
Look where you're going, silly. Just be careful not to run around the city in your robes. Why not? Think of what a good angle that is to spin. The romance of a lost princess, you know? We need to take way more advantage of that. Ruby could play like she attained enlightenment out in the wilds or something. People eat that stuff up.
That also might ruffle the feathers of more than a few conservatives.
It's just a thought.
Well, I would like to improve relations between Vale and the tribes. Considering you and I know them pretty well, we might be in a good place to merge them into the Summer Rose Court.
What is the Summer Rose Court anyway?
Representatives from each plane, including ours. It's to ease communications between the planes, to strengthen ourselves as their allies.
When Ruby's parents were still alive, they had a council of their own. Those who weren't lost in the attack broke away into separate factions.
But the Xiaolongs have been isolated from us for much longer than that.
Tai Yang was a court member once, you know.
Dad? Really?
Yeah, but not for very long. He tried merging the Xiaolongs and the Roses many, many times. Finally, he got frustrated and left.
How come he never told me about any of this?
Well, it was before we were born.
His disinterest in the court is what made his tribe such an attractive place to hide you, Ruby.
He did a good job. The day I found you was not the first attempt I'd made to search the deserts for the last rose heir.
What made you decide to come back one more time?
A hunch, though you could have been anywhere. All we knew was that you were alive. That was it. You weren't fully attuned to the throne, but it still wanted you. No one else. It told me as much.
Crescent Rose spoke to you?
What? No. Of course not.
Crescent Rose is just what we call the power that rests in our plane. It cannot speak.
But it's impossible to deny that it sometimes appears to have a will of its own.
Most of the court abandoned Vale to return to their own parts of the plane when they realized they couldn't wield Crescent Rose. Ozpin was the only one crazy enough to try it.
The only remaining court members are Glinda, Crow, and myself.
So really just Ozpin and I.
That will change soon. Rebuilding the court will give us strength again. I hope.
Looks like it's gonna rain again.
I know. I can smell it in the air. Makes me nervous. The dragons might get sick if we push them through another storm like we did on the way here.
They'll be taken care of while we're inside, right?
Of course. Are you ready, Ruby?
It's completely smooth. One solid piece.
Very astute, Ruby.
So it's a big wall. What's so great about it? Beacons are taller. There doesn't seem to be a gate. What are we supposed to do? Fly in?
No. They're deciding whether to let us in.
And if they don't?
Don't be silly, Yang. They're expecting us. They made this with magic, right?
And no small amount of engineering knowledge.
We should look into making more fortifications like this within the city. I mean, did they let us?
We'll see about asking them. They were happy to enchant most of our weapons. So further collaborations between us shouldn't be too difficult to engineer.
Guess that means come in. Home. Try not to break anything, Rose.
We are here to speak to the Archmage. It's time to make another attempt.
Oh?
You've never seen them before?
Just drawings. My parents never took me here.
There are 5 major portals in total. They each have a name and a story. They are sacred things. They need to be protected, guarded. Only Rose monarchs and Curia members are allowed to see them dormant.
When humanity found them, we studied them until we gained the tools necessary to build our own.
The lesser portals.
But those are still incapable of transporting people.
Until the major ones become activated.
What's up with those? Broken portals to planes we no longer have access to. How come?
Why don't you tell Yang what you remember, and I'll fill in any gaps.
Well, I know one was intentionally sealed off. According to the legend, everything started there. The conflict that shattered our planes. We don't know for sure who, or what, is on the other side. But since it has such an ugly history, they called it the Scar. It had another name, a more formal one. Luna Fracta?
Very good, Ruby.
Oh, that one's the coolest! As a girl, I read about it all the time. Nobody knows what it is. It's been broken for as long as anyone can remember.
And now all we have are guesses and theories as to what happened. They call it Magenhild.
And then there are the other 3. Myrtenaster is the one that goes to Miklas. They've got some of the greatest engineers in existence.
Not to mention their mage knights have remarkable precision and control over dust in combat. Who has enough dust to waste in a fight?
They do. And Lan Jihua is the one over there. It leads to Hepping?
Haping.
Hupping. That plane is a lot like ours, but the people there are theocratic, kinda. So we probably need to get one of their dragon monks to join the Summer Rose Court if we're gonna be friends.
We'll send them several of our mages in exchange. Sounds like a piece of cake. If they have dragons, we've already got plenty in common.
We'll need them if the grim threat gets any worse.
The dragons?
The monks.
And lastly but not least, dang it. Ozpin?
To'akuin.
Right, that. To'akuin is the portal that leads to Spiritus Bellatorum. They're sort of odd in the way that they have no magic at all. Like, none. It just goes poof when you try to do it.
Poof?
Poof.
So we need them because...
Their fighters are really formidable. And on top of that, they've always been friendly. Getting their help should be the easiest, but... I almost lost communication with them ended about 2 years ago.
Really?
Last we heard, they were in the depths of civil war. Communications staggered, and then slowly stopped altogether. As for the other two planes, well, Glinda, how did you put it?
They've grown bitter and cold to us after a near decade of no human contact. And their isolated cultures in general, not very trusting.
Yep, there you go.
And now we're going to open one of them. Oh, this is so cool! There has already been some correspondence between us and the other planes. They should be aware that the major portals will be active again. What about their portals to each other?
There are none. Vale is a hub. Travel to the other planes is only possible from here.
Once we make an attempt, the reverberation will travel across temporal space to...
The planes are our neighbors, and they're expecting us. There's a door on our end, then a hallway, and a door on their end. Now, we're gonna knock on our door and let them know we want them to open their door, so we can go across the hallway that only appears when both doors are open.
Nice. Ugh, come on.
So, which one shall we open first? Keep in mind that it will remain open until you decide to close it, and that opening or sealing a portal will drain you mentally and physically.
I know. I'm still considering which one is the best choice to make.
Then, until you do, we'll begin preparations for the ceremony.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why does everything have to involve my blood?
Your link to Crescent Rose is by virtue of your blood. It will only take a drop.
That's what you always say.
Currently, Myrtanaster is the only one we can open. Preparations aren't complete for the other two.
Well, that makes the choice easier, doesn't it?
Myrtanaster would be the easiest to open regardless. The connection between our plane and theirs is strongest.